the savage queen who ripped out the hearts of her enemies. In the blood-red dawn of the 15th century, when the Caribbean islands were still untouched by European greed, there rose a queen whose legend has outlived the empires she raised. Her name was Aruama, and she was born in 1472 in the mist-shrouded mountains of Kaoruka, a powerful island kingdom south of what is now called Hispaniola. A daughter of warriors and priests, Aruama was trained in ritual, language, and war, her mind as sharp as the obsidian blades she would one day wield. While other girls learned to dance and serve, Aruama learned how to hunt, fight, and command. By 16, she was leading raids. By 20, she was crowned Kakika, queen, after the sudden death of her brother, Chief Haloku, during a mysterious storm at sea. But some said the storm had 2 legs and walked among them with a dagger. Aruama took the throne alone, unmarried, unbent, and unafraid. She was a queen and a spiritual leader, a legend long before Europeans ever arrived. Her world was governed by balance and wisdom, completely unprepared for the nightmare that was rapidly approaching. Her kingdom prospered until 1493, when strange ships began to darken the horizon. Pale-skinned men with flashing metal and lying tongues arrived, led by the ambitious and silver-tongued Captain Matteo del Fierro. He claimed to bring peace, trade, and religion, but the arrival of Del Fierro marked a point of no return for the Taino. These newcomers were alien, clad in strange clothes and armor, speaking an incomprehensible language. According to Del Fierro's own diary, the Taino's initial reaction was one of astounding generosity. He wrote that they would trade everything they owned for something as seemingly worthless as broken pottery. This wasn't ignorance. It was a reflection of a culture built on sharing. They welcomed these strangers with food and gold, not as payment, but as a sign of respect. But Aruama remained silently skeptical. At first, she welcomed them with performance and patience. She let them taste the fruits of Kaoruka. She let them believe she was enchanted. Yet these 2 worlds were fundamentally incompatible. The Taino viewed their island as a sacred home. The Spanish saw it as a gold mine to be plundered. From her home, Aruama watched as her people's inherent kindness was met with unbridled greed. The Spanish obsession with gold drove them to madness, and hospitality quickly devolved into brutal violence. Taino people were kidnapped and enslaved, their women assaulted. The breaking point came after Del Fierro left a fort he named La Navidad. When he returned in 1493, the fort was burned down and his men were dead. The Spanish, with no proof, blamed Aruama and her people. The Spanish commander Del Fierro eliminated many of the women and children in retaliation. For Aruama, this was a devastating personal attack and a terrifying omen. These strangers were not guests. They were conquerors. Secretly, she began preparing for war. Del Fierro returned months later with soldiers and priests in tow, demanding Aruama kneel and surrender her gods and gold to the crown of Castile. She smiled, bowed her head. That night, the Feast of Binding was held. Del Fierro and his 30 men were welcomed as honored guests. They drank fermented cassava, danced with warriors dressed as spirits, and fell into a deep, drugged slumber. At midnight, Aruama struck. With her elite guard, the firewomen of Kaoruka, she dragged the Spaniards one by one to the ritual altar, where their hearts were cut out and offered to the god Zimoko, the great jaguar. Their bodies were burned, their weapons melted down, and their bones scattered into the sea. Del Fierro? He was saved for last. Aruama carved his heart out while he was still alive, whispering, "This is what I give to your god." The Spaniards never returned to Kaoruka. Word spread, across waters and winds of the savage queen who cut out the hearts of invaders. Other island nations bowed to her or sought her alliance. She forged the League of the Black Waters, uniting 5 powerful island tribes under her command. But Aruama was not done. In 1498, she launched her own fleet, raiding Spanish outposts on nearby islands. Colonists vanished. Ships were found adrift with blood-soaked sails. Churches were burned, and priests strung up by their own rosaries. They called her La Reina Demonia, the demon queen. Yet to her people, she was Aruama the Undying, protector of the islands, and mother of the blood moon. She ruled until her death in 1531, not by dagger or disease, but in her sleep, surrounded by warriors, daughters, and flame. Her body was never buried. Her ashes were scattered in the sea, so she could ride the tides forever. And to this day, islanders say when a storm gathers fast and fierce, and the waves rise in fury, Aruama rides again. She was not conquered. She did not bow. She cut out the hearts of her enemies and fed them to her gods.